Dímelo mi gente, what up? It's your boy Gus from Gus Villa Jewelry, and in this video, it is specifically geared to those who are trying to open up your very own jewelry store right now in 2025. I'm gonna go over the top 5 most important tips I could possibly give to someone who is brand new and wanting to get their foot in the door.
Gus Villa Jewelry.
Who the hell am I? First off, my name is Gus. I'm the owner of Gus Villa Jewelry. I started my company about 3 years ago. Beforehand, I was also in the jewelry world. I co-owned a brand that I'm no longer a part of. In the entire 6 years that I've been in this industry, I've learned a lot, I've failed a lot, and I have some really good insight if you are trying to break into this industry. Without further ado, step number 1, you have to ask yourself, who is your target audience? Jewelry in general has such a broad array of types of customers. Who is it you are trying to target specifically? You don't want to be that jeweler that does all kinds of jewelry, because at the end of the day, you do a whole lot of nothing. So figure out first, what kind of person do I want to sell to? In my particular case, I sell to males between the ages of 22 to 37. Of course, I get a lot of different customers from all kinds of walks of life. There's also fine jewelry, which usually sells to a lot of women, engagement style jewelry, which caters to men that are looking for an engagement ring for their wife. Figure out what kind of customer you are looking for. Now, how to do some research on that is very basic. You go on Google Trends, see what people are looking for. Unless, of course, you're passionate about a certain type of jewelry. How I got into this jewelry world was through Cuban links. I love the chain. It's a chain that I wore. And when I got into this was the first type of chain that I actually made. Because I made this chain, I attracted a certain type of purchaser. Again, that male millennial kind of flow. And I, of course, a content creator, catered to them because we were able to relate on a much more friend type of basis. So that was my base. That's who I wanted to cater to. And the Cuban link chains was just a vessel that I used to get there. So to sum it up, find who you want to sell to. If you're a woman breaking into this jewelry world and you could relate to, say for instance, an older type of crowd, go down that route. Find out what it is that they like. If you're a younger dude, such as myself, maybe even younger, and you can cater to kids your age, make that connection. Find out what it is that they're purchasing. And of course, make that kind of jewelry. Find who your target audience. I can't tell you how insanely important this is. It's almost everything, to be honest with you. Number 2, networking. Now, usually in the jewelry world, a lot is kept behind gates. So networking opens those gates up for a lot of information. When you enter into the world, you have to do one of 2 things. You either have to have gone to school or you begin to apprentice for someone. You can go down the school route, you can get some sort of certifications, maybe go to school to learn how to solder, maybe how to do fine jewelry, whatever it is that you chose. But what happens in school is that you don't really get to know the real world of jewelry. You don't get to know the owners of the stores, you don't get to know what people are buying, selling, that kind of thing. And so for that reason, I usually always say the school route is cool, but networking is really, in my opinion, the most important part. Now, how do you start to networking? You start to begin to call all the jewelry stores in your area. If you happen to live in a big city and there's a jewelry district, you can begin to come down to these areas and introduce yourself and get them to give you some sort of apprenticeship. Now, what you're trying to do in this particular case is get your foot in the door. Start wherever you can. No one's gonna let you walk into the store and say, hey, you wanna be part of the ownership. It doesn't work that way. So in the beginning, you gotta sweep floors, you gotta set diamonds, you gotta file chains. I filed chains for 8 months straight until I was able to learn how to solder, and I owned the business. You gotta get your foot in the door somewhere. Networking is the most important part when it comes to the longevity that you plan to stay in this jewelry world. Let me give you a prime example. I had to travel to Hong Kong to make connections on a lot of the vendors that I now work with now because nobody would give me their name. And I had to travel all the way to India to get connections on diamonds because nobody would give me their name. And I was in the industry. So think about it from someone who knows nobody, how hard it is gonna be to get there. You have to begin to network. Networking is, my God, if I can compare it to something, I would say it'd be like learning how to bob and weave for a boxer. It's gonna help you in the long run, but you have to start shaking those hands. Believe me when I tell you that. Número 3. This one is what separates the boys from the men, and that is your social media presence. Right now, in 2025, we live in the age of social media. I could tell you without a shadow of a doubt, you won't have as much success as someone who dedicates their entire existence to social media and content creation. I'll give you my personal story. When I first started this business, I had no idea about any of the jewelry world. All I knew how to do was create content online. I had a company that did that. I met a guy who told me, I will show you the jewelry world and you will show me how to create content. We joined forces, we started a company. I began to take pictures of the Cuban lakes we were making. I began to tell our story. People became fascinated with that, and it turned a business that was only making about $11,000 a month to our first full month in business over $80,000, only because I was consistent with my social media presence. I can't tell you how insanely important it is. There are so many okay to even below average quality jewelers out there, but because they have such a strong presence online, they murder it. The difference between someone who is going to sit at the store and just wait for someone to walk in, as opposed to those that are going to go out there and get it by creating content and reaching a broader audience online, is night and day. 90% of the people that walk into the store are because they saw me on YouTube and on Facebook and Instagram. And I'll tell you the kicker of all this. What has separated myself and other jewelers out there, and I'm talking about the big time names, Moses the Jeweler, Trax, CRM, all these big guys, they are consistent with how much content they produce. That's it. That's what separates everybody. Everybody else eventually quits and they continue to pump out content. They don't stop. If you want to become successful at this thing, have a social media presence and stay consistent. Even if you've never touched a soldering table, you can still create about the history of jewelry, about your journey, whatever it is. Just create content on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, for the love of God. Number 4, become an expert in your field. Jewelry is about trust. People trust me because I give them information. People trust other jewelers because they know them, because they give them information. Now, whether you want to go into diamonds, whether you want to go into gold, whether you want to go into anything in this jewelry world, do your research. You don't have to go to school. There are plenty of books on all of these topics that I'm telling you. The money is in how much information you know and can give your customer before he buys. Say, for instance, you're in the market for a diamond ring and you click on a YouTube video and somebody gives you a 20-minute course on how to buy it and you save thousands of dollars in the process. Where do you think you are going to buy this diamond ring? Are you going to buy it from some random stranger that you walk into a store? Or are you more than likely going to buy it from the person who gave you all of this information? Become an expert in your field. Study your ass off in whatever it is that you want to do. You are the expert. Provide that information to the customer to inform them, to build trust behind it, and they will purchase from you. And the last tip in my 5 steps to start a jewelry business in 2025 is start small. The reality is, comparison is the thief of joy. People are always going to compare themselves to the big names. If you think that you are going to be Gus Villa Jewelry in 2 months, you're sadly mistaken. If you think that you're going to be the next Mr. Beast on YouTube, you are sadly mistaken, my friend. It does not work that way. Start small, but start. If you're gonna go diamonds, make a little bit of money. Start selling diamond studs, start selling diamond tennis chains, start selling moissanite, start selling silver. Whatever it is that's gonna be cheap for you, that you could put some money in your pocket and start to feel good. There's a saying in basketball, shoot or shoot, but eventually all of them get into some sort of dud. All they wanna do is see the ball go through the net. Once you see that ball go through the net, once you see that first sale, you start to believe that you can actually make it happen. But you have to start, and you have to start small. You're not gonna be the next Trax NYC. Maybe you will, but that's further down the line. In the very beginning, just put some money in your pocket. Buy small, sell small. Start the journey. Start doing all the grunt work. Don't think that you're gonna build a jewelry store in the first year. It's not gonna happen. Start very small, but start and keep at it. For the love of God, keep at it. Here's my bonus tip for all those that stayed until the very end. And this one, I hate it. And I have to live it every single day of my life.
Déjame hablar con él. ¿Él dónde está?
He comes at 4 p.m.
Pero pídele el favor. Dile que el favorazo de los favorazos. Dile que yo se lo pedí, please. Edwin Negrón está ahí en el día, no sé dónde puta mierda yo. basically we thought we had a piece done. Once you rhodium dip something, it's basically done. That's the last step. We just realized that he has a custom engraving, and the engraving is not just a regular engraving, it's like his logo. So he's on his way already. So we gotta call him, break down the news, and let him know that.
Allow yourself to mess up. And I know that everybody out there has heard that a million times, but truly in this world, especially the jewelry world, whether you're going to make the jewelry or sell the jewelry, allow yourself to fuck shit up. I can't tell you how many times I have messed up in this career. The first time I ever made a Cuban link chain, I messed it all up. And then I made 6 of them that were perfect. And then guess what? I messed it up again, and I messed it up again, and then I couldn't finish one, and that happened for a whole entire month. It's okay. When I first started this business here that I'm currently running at, we had a chargeback that hit me for $30,000 and another chargeback that hit me for $27,000. For a brand new business that barely has enough to cover payroll, that was devastating. I cried. I literally couldn't sleep at night from the stress. I figured, how is Gus Villa Jewelry going to possibly survive? It's okay. I made a mistake. I sent out change without doing my due diligence for chargebacks. And guess what? Those mistakes are costly, but allow yourself to do them. If you are really committed to this jewelry world and you want to be the next big thing in the jewelry business, you have to allow yourself to fuck up. And it's going to happen a million times. It happens to me. It happens to everybody. That's the beauty about this. Everyone out there on social media is just a highlight reel. Everyone is just the good parts, but no one talks about the bad ones that happen all the time. I continue to make mistakes till this day. Let yourself make mistakes. You are gonna make mistakes. We all are. But guess what? If you stick to it, you're eventually gonna come out on the other side successful. Anyway, those were my tips for 2025. If you want to know specifics on who to call exactly and who to do this, you're missing the greater point of this whole entire video. You have to figure out the backbone of what you want to do. All these big pillars are what's going to be the backbone that's going to catapult you into another stratosphere. But to begin, as I said always, just start small. I hope these tips helped you. If you like it, or you like this kind of content in general, subscribe to the channel. If you know somebody who's bordering between that edge of starting this or maybe not starting this, send them this video. I hope it helps. If you guys have any testimonies, if this actually helped you, please reach out to me on gusvillajewelry.com. I'd love to have a chat or drop a comment down below. As always, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Holla.